And these two hotels were part of a plan to establish a network of 8 railway hotels across the Grand Trunk Pacific transcontinental route. However, the chaos of World War I and bankruptcy of 1920 forced Grand Trunk Pacific to abandon the incomplete chateau, but in 1924 the Canadian Pacific would rummage the structure of the unfinished Chateau Coppellet and use those materials to construct their new luxury hotel, the Hotel Saskatchewan, and that would open in 1927. Now, amidst the roaring 20s, Saskatoon had emerged as a bustling railway hub under the newly formed Canadian National Railways. Now, CN was initially very hesitant to building a hotel in Saskatoon, but on December 31st of 1928, CN President Henry Thornton announced the acquisition of land for a railway hotel at the end of 21st Street, facing their passenger station just 500 meters away. And despite the onset of the Great Depression, construction of the Bessborough began in February of 1930, with the hotel providing one of the few job opportunities in Saskatoon at the time, and competition for positions was so fierce, on some days if you would take a smoke break, lunch break, or even in some cases a bathroom break, you'd be replaced before you even returned. And even NHL legend Gordie Howe worked on the construction of the hotel at 15 years old, a job that would influence his iconic jersey number 9, because whenever he traveled by train, he always traveled in seat number 9 of the coach that he was in. And by proxy, when Wayne Gretzky the Great One wore 99, it all originated back here at Saskatoon's Castle on the River at the Bessborough Hotel. Now, the hotel was completed in 1932, but CN was losing money at an alarming rate, and this almost led to the demolition of the hotel before it even opened. But in 1935, the city of Saskatoon would incentivize CN to open the hotel with a 25-year property tax exemption. The Bessborough would then be named after this guy, the Earl of Bessborough, and the hotel would open its doors to the public in December of 1935. It was designed as a Bavarian-style chateau with a copper roof and turret towers built from Tyndall stone, which was actually the same stone used in Canadian Pacific's Royal Alexandra Hotel in Winnipeg. The Bessborough reigned as Saskatoon's tallest building, standing 10 stories high along the banks of the South Saskatchewan, and upon opening would fetch a steep $3 a night for a room. Wow, how things have changed since. Now, the Bessborough Hotel symbolized hope for Saskatoon's post-war economic resurgence following World War II, especially into 1955, when CN launched their new flagship train, the Supercontinental, heading from downtown Montreal into Winnipeg Union Station, arriving here in Saskatoon down the street from the Bessborough, west into Edmonton, to the Rockies in Jasper, and finally arriving on the Pacific Coast in Vancouver. However, the dawn of the 1960s saw passenger rail service in Canada on life support to say the least, and in one final attempt to signal a new rail renaissance ahead, Canadian National would relocate passenger service to their new built station outside of downtown Saskatoon into the boonies along their main line outside the city in 1966, now changing the commute from a 500-meter walk down the street to the Bessborough to almost 10 kilometers away, and the Bessborough would suffer a huge financial decline, with CN losing over $500,000 a year on the hotel well into the 1970s, and like a lot of other Grand Railway hotels, it was heavily considered for demolition. But in 1973, CN would sell the hotel to private owners, and in 1989, it was acquired by Delta Hotels, and in 2015, it was purchased by the Marriott for $135 million. And despite the forever-changing landscapes over the decades around the hotel, the Bessborough stands almost the same way that it was on opening day in 1935, blending timeless elegance with modern amenities as its iconic silhouette sits against the Saskatoon skyline.